Thank you for joining us for another opportunity of fellowship with This Is My Story, testimonies that move the soul. Let's welcome to This Is My Story, Mr. Bennett, Tommy Bennett, and one of his sons, Esteban, who's agreed to help us out today by setting this up for us. So welcome, 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 Mr. Bennett. It's so good to see you. Your buddy Jerry is here.
Hey. There's Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
How you doing? You're looking good. Look like Frederick Douglass there.
Stop it.
There you go. Now, I knew I'd get a smile out of you. All right.
Oh, they see me?
Yeah, they see you in that camera.
We see you very well.
Tell them a little bit about where you were born.
The floor is all yours.
I was born in Dallas County, Alabama, the town of South Alabama.
That's Sanford. That's next to the big, bright city of Selma.
All right.
So Selma had about 15,000 at the time, and Sanford had about 300.
Okay.
So if you wanted the bright lights, you'd go to Selma.
All right.
So what'd you do? What was life like as a child, Dad?
Selma, you go to Selma, but at that particular time, you couldn't try on your shoes.
Oh my.
Oh.
That's right.
Why couldn't you try on your shoes?
Well, how you looked, what color you were.
What color?
Yeah.
If you're black, you couldn't try on shoes. You better pick what you got, because what you got is what you're going to stay with.
You take a string and measure your foot with the string, and then you get the shoe and you measure it. But you couldn't try them on.
Tell them about the issue you had with a pair of shoes.
I've had all kind of issues with a pair of shoes, all kind. Every kind I bought, I had an issue.
Why?
Because you couldn't try them on, you had to just walk out with them. And my father, they took his shoe, he bought a pair of shoes and they took them away from him.
Why?
The Southern, you remember when they had the boycott in Selma?
Okay.
My father, he didn't know about it. He bought him a pair of shoes, and Southern Christian leadership took his shoes away from him for buying them.
Oh,
no.
Because they were boycotting?
They were boycotting, and he bought him a pair of shoes anyway.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Wow.
What happened with the shoes that you took and you took back and had a little scrap?
Oh, and what happened to them, but I still wore them. I had a scrap over them, but I still wore them.
Wow.
So growing up, how many pairs of shoes?
So growing up, how many pair of shoes did you have?
You had winter shoes, and they call them Brogans.
Brogans. Oh, yes.
Did you have to clean the shoes before you got into the car?
You had to clean them.
No, there was no car then.
We didn't have a car.
What happened to you during your teenage years?
My teenage year, starting back, I went to school. We didn't have black schools. We had schools in churches.
Oh, wow.
My first school was Israelite Baptist Church. And to walk over to the church, you had to walk about 3 miles to the school, the Israelite, and through the woods, and we made it. And we never had a chance. Homework, if you took homework home, you had to get it the next morning because we had kerosene lights.
Wow.
Oh.
You weren't allowed to read. You couldn't read anything by a kerosene light. So my next school was Mount Lebanon Church. And the teachers there, they thought I was a smart young man. So they skipped me from the 4th grade to the 6th.
Oh, wow.
High school.
6th grade was high school.
High school.
What?
Wow.
So you skipped 2 grades? Mercy.
I skipped the 5th.
How old were you when you started reading?
Oh, I was about 5 years old.
Wow.
Okay.
He used to read letters from the guys back from World War II, would send home, and they'd give him a penny or a nickel to read what John Boy was doing over in France.
Exactly.
Wow.
So who taught you how to read?
I taught myself.
Wow.
So you got a hold of books? How did you get a hold of the books?
They would give them to me. We could take books home, and I cut grass. I was cutting grass and milking a cow for this Caucasian lady. And every time she got a book, she'd say, "Here's home, here's a book. I know you like to read." And she'd give me a newspaper, New York Times and all that stuff. I learned a lot from that.
Okay.
Reading those books.
So tell me, what kind of house did you live in growing up?
What kind of house? I don't know. It was a 2-bedroom house.
How many people in the house? 9?
Yeah.
Really? And did
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
I had a couch. They had a wooden bed for me put by the stove. It's because it was warm there. But when the fire went out, I got cold.
Wow. So what were some of your responsibilities as a child growing up? What did you have to do?
Growing up, I had to feed the pigs, pick cotton, chop cotton, and feed the horse. The old horse that I did a lot of plowing. You know what a plow is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do.
Go ahead, Jerry.
So you did a lot of plowing.
Oh, yeah.
Was your family sharecroppers?
Yes.
They were.
But they never got their share, huh?
They never got their share. So you didn't get the 20 acres and a mule
40 acres.
40 acres and a mule.
I never got it, no.
We're going to have to let the government know that you still haven't received your 40 acres and a mule.
See, the owners used to like big families, so more people could work.
Just getting ready to say, did you own the land where you lived, or were you there with a slave? You were the sharecropper. So did you ever meet the owners of the land? Did you ever meet the slave owners?
No, we didn't own the land. There was a man named Rem Howard. He owned that land, and we had to just whatever we got, we had to get it. So, and I lived this life until I was 16, and I decided I had enough. I walked 24 miles from Sanford to Selma. You
walked 24 miles because you had enough.
I had enough.
Did you tell your parents that you were leaving?
Yeah, they knew I was leaving.
Where'd you go?
They were standing there waving me on as I walked away.
So where did you end up?
I ended up going to the recruiting station, the Air Force recruiting station, and they told me I needed a birth certificate. So I went around and got my birth certificate, and I had a different name on the birth. So, man, I had my birth certificate. I went back to the recruiter. And he said, "Boy, you won't be 17 till midnight. You can't go in." Midnight, I was 16. They took you at 17. So I went around on Washington Street, the Black Street, and slept all night and went back the next day. So they took me the next day. I was 17 years old.
Wow.
They sent a bus to pick me up and took me to Craig Air Force Base. And that's the first time I rode on the front seat of a bus. We had to go to the back.
Okay.
Up until that point, what were you sick and tired of? What did you have enough of? What was under your skin that made you decide to walk all those miles?
All that hard work for nothing?
Not having your share.
Not having a share.
What were your siblings doing at that time?
Oh, they were much younger than me. They were working too.
I think 7 of his sisters all married military men.
Wow.
Oh,
That was equivalent to an NBA player today.
right.
Well, how long did you stay in the service? And what was your rank and what did you do?
26 years. I was a jet engine mechanic.
Whoa. What did you start off doing?
Back in those days, they train you according to the color of your skin.
That's
right. And you were trained according to the color of your skin. And I was in the mess hall.
He was a cook.
Washing dishes.
Wow.
So you cooked as well, Mr. Bennett?
Pardon?
You cooked as well?
He started off as a cook. If you're black, you were in the mess hall cooking.
That's right.
So what were you cooking? What were you cooking, Mr. Bennett?
Everything that came out of the airport came out with a menu. We cooked it. I didn't cook it, the cooks did. Finally, they sent me to Fort Knox, Kentucky to the Army Cook School.
Oh, okay.
But I still didn't cook.
Well, how did you end up becoming a jet mechanic?
They changed the Air Force, the federal government changed they went by your AQE, your AQT test. Yeah, that means the Army Qualification Test. And they saw on there why I had a jet engine mechanic knowledge. I don't know how they saw that, but they called me and said, Hammond Bennett, you qualified the other things to mess on. And they started naming off stuff that I was qualified for. So we sat there and he didn't name it off. So when he said jet engine mechanic, I had never seen an airplane, but I said, I want to be a jet engine mechanic. So I had a wife and three kids. And a week later, I got an order to go to Amarillo, Texas Jet Engine School.
Did you like it?
I liked it. I worked there 26 years.
Wow.
Okay, when he went to Texas at Jet Engine School, he brought his wife and 3 kids. Who else came to join you?
My sister-in-law.
And her 4 kids.
Oh, no.
Oh, my.
And how big of a house?
It was a 1 room, everybody sleeping on the floor.
1 room.
Oh, wow.
In Texas. So
right.
Finally, I never forget Mr. Peavy House. He was a teacher in the school. He called me in one day. He said, Bennett, they ain't worrying about you. They're thinking because you're sleeping in class. And they're thinking about kicking you out of school. So I said, he said, what's wrong? Why can't you stay awake? I said, my sister-in-law was there and I got this 1 room and they want to kick you out. And I told him what happened. I'm there with his sister-in-law. So Mr. Peavy House, I never forget him. He stood up in the desk and said, kick her out. Kick out.
So jet engines are the most highly prized individuals in the Air Force, the mechanics.
Right.
Because you're overseeing million-dollar pieces of equipment.
Right.
So your responsibility is for this pilot, who they invested millions of dollars of training in, that he comes home and that airplane comes home right.
That's right. That's right.
So
I finished school and they sent me back to Travis Air Force Base. I was working on B-52s.
B-52s are the bombers,
right,
that dropped the big bombs.
Big bombs, that's right. Working B-52s.
Did you ever work with any Tuskegee Airmen while you were in the service?
Tuskegee Airmen?
Yes.
No, but I met some.
Okay.
Yeah, there were some veterans of Tuskegee Airmen.
All right.
We were mechanics. They were flyers. But that was
The military has a hierarchy that is very, very defined. If you're a pilot, you're an officer.
That's right. You can't be.
If you're enlisted, there's no fraternizing with enlisted and officers. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Bennett, you were given a directive to kick out your sister-in-law. Did you do that?
Well, when she got a welfare check, she left on home.
Okay. So you didn't have to kick her out. I was just trying to help you out there. We didn't want you to appear so harsh. So they had welfare back then. And
she was in Omaha saying she was getting a welfare check and she was waiting on them to send the check and somebody was holding it up. So finally when she got that check, she went home.
It was gone.
God bless America.
Yeah.
Oh, while he was up at Travis Air Force Base, he was baptized by Dr. Michael Maine's father.
Moses Maine.
I was just getting ready to say, before we move on into how you were introduced to Adventism, let's talk about your travels with the Air Force. It got you on the road. You were determined to get out of there, so you took this walk. You joined the Air Force. They put you in the mess hall. But when did you meet Mrs. Bennett? When did you meet this beautiful woman named Sylvia?
In Omaha, Nebraska. I was stationed at Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska. It was you heard of SAC? So she's the Air Command. That was the headquarters of Offutt. That's where I was stationed. And that's where we met. So you met in Nebraska.
Oh, okay. Omaha. All righty. And of course, there's a little bit of history there. Where is Mrs. Bennett anyway? Is she there?
She's here.
Okay. There's a little history. I'm going to throw it in real quick. My great-grandfather baptized his wife's mother in Omaha, Nebraska, Elder Bradford. And years later, my grandmother would cross paths with his mother-in-law, Mrs. Jones. And Mrs. Jones, they remembered each other all those years later from Omaha. And what a reunion that was to see that. But here you are in Omaha, and you run into Sylvia, and you begin to court her. Is that what happened? Or you had your game together so good that you said a few words and like Barry White, you began to sing, or what?
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, we started in Nebraska.
Okay.
And so she was a little backwards on Friday and Saturday. I was a Baptist. I didn't know about no Adventist.
Did you say she was a little backwards on that?
A little hesitant about going out.
So she was a Seventh-day Adventist when you met her?
Right.
Okay, and you had never heard anything about that?
Nothing.
Okay, so she invited you to church?
No, I just went. We went to.
You just showed up, huh? You wanted to find out what she was talking about.
Yeah, I found out.
Okay. When did you make the decision that you wanted to be a baptized member of the church?
When we moved to California.
Ah, okay. That was after Texas, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, after Texas, right.
Okay.
We moved to.
Okay. Stephen, do you remember anything about Amarillo, Texas?
No, I was quite young then.
You were too young.
Remembering in Fairfield, up northern California. That's where he was baptized by Dr. Maine's father.
Right, right. Okay. Anything else in Nebraska that caught your attention that you remember, Mr. Bennett?
We remember something I talk about all the time, and she laughs about it, but I got a little shook up. I was a man about town. And this one lady bought me a ring and a watch. And it came up missing. I said, "Where's my ring and watch?" I threw them away.
Oh, wow.
No, she threw them away.
Oh.
Threw my stuff away because another lady bought them for me. Another girl. And they were gold.
They were gold.
Yeah.
So you learned a little justice, huh?
So this lady, her husband, she was young. They had been married, and he drowned, and she got insurance, $10,000. And she bought me a ring and a watch, gold ring and watch.
Yeah.
And a year later, they came up missing. Looking for my stuff, and she admitted I threw them away. Threw my gold watch away.
Were you married at the time?
Yes.
Oh, you were married? Okay.
No, I wasn't married when she bought me the watch.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
But I was married when she threw them away.
Mr. Bennett, you still feel a little something about that right now? You still feel a little something about that? Still kind of bother you?
Oh no, that she threw them away. I don't know why they. She threw them away in Omaha.
Okay. Anything else about Omaha that comes to mind? You still have a lot of friends. I think of quite a few people that are from Omaha. Aren't the Spinnesses from Omaha?
Yes, they've been friends for
years.
Years.
Yes. And I think Elder McFall is from Omaha. You had
Partridge?
Yes, Dr. Partridge and his family from Omaha. So there's a few folks in Omaha. They're quite a group. I was thinking of Cool Breeze, Brother Bow. Is he from Omaha too?
Yes, yes. That's Partridge's brother-in-law, my grandmother's brother.
Right, right. All of them from Omaha. So you got a chance to meet all these people when you were there. Is that correct?
That's right. No, I didn't meet them all until after. I met them out here.
Out here. That's what I was just ready to say. Did you meet them there or here? Okay. So now take us to now where you're headed west. Around what years are this? Is this timeline?
Well, we first after Northern California, we went to Europe, and this was during the heat of Vietnam War. And England was the first base, and they would the planes would fly from England to Thailand to United States. So that was one of the stop-off places. Support team, and what I remember was, oh, Rusty. We met Rusty in England.
Oh yes, Rusty McCullen.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And we were the only Adventists. Only Adventists on the base.
Well, we didn't have. We were the only family Adventist. Didn't know what Adventist was. I was driving around the base one day and I saw a big Catholic church on the base. They had a sign out there. There were days they were open and the days that they were closed when they had service. And they were on Saturday. They didn't have service. So I had an idea, so I went in and I talked to the priest. I asked him, are you familiar with Adventism? He said, oh yeah, I know it well. I said, you guys are closed on Saturday. Well, we have a group here that's Adventist. Why don't you let us use the church? He gave me the keys.
Oh, wow.
Big, beautiful church.
Wow. And that's in Northern California?
No, that's in England.
That was in
England. Okay. But before you got to England, you went to Northern California. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you go to Northern California after Texas?
Yes.
That was your next stop?
He did some other stops in between.
Okay.
They have what they call TDY, temporary duties assignment.
Okay. So you began to move up the ranks. By the time you got to Northern California, what was your position and what were you doing?
I was a jet engine mechanic.
Okay, so you were a mechanic by then, functioning in that, and you had not been baptized. So tell us about your journey there in Northern California. You started going to church and...
Yeah, I got baptized in, I believe it was 1959.
1959. What was some of the dynamics of society that you were dealing with as what would have been a Negro at that time? What were some of the things you had to deal with in Northern California? Yes, as a Negro.
Well, one thing in the military, they had their inner prejudice, supervisors and stuff like that, but the Air Force had regulations that you had to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I got out and came out of the school, I went to Travis Air Force Base. And I heard with my ears, supervisor was saying that I was the first black mechanic. None of the supervisors wanted me. But the guy, Sergeant Bull Webb, he ran the test cell. When you take an engine apart, you had to test it and put it on and make sure everything was working. I heard him say, "I'll take Bennett." And I went working for him in the test cell, testing jet engine. Then when they run, you had to go out and leak check. But he made me the leak checker rather than see if they're leaking fuel or anything. Every day, Bennett leaking, check the leaks.
Interesting. Your travels to Northern California, at that time in Northern California, was it a popular place? What part of Northern California were you in? Were you in San Francisco, Oakland? Yes. Where were you?
I was at Vallejo.
Vallejo. Okay. Okay.
But back to Omaha, we went to Alabama. You and I and the kids, they don't remember it, but we traveled all over from Omaha to Alabama. We couldn't get a hotel room.
Was the Green Book out at that time?
Uh-huh.
Was the Green Book out? The
Green Book. You just didn't, blacks didn't go to a hotel room. They meet you at the door. Oh, we don't have a room. We're out.
Mercy.
And that went on from Missouri, Texas, into Alabama. We didn't lay down until we got to my home in Selma.
Mercy.
Yeah, it was that way, prejudice. And if we compared it, we traveled from England to Germany, across the English Channel. We were driving. We went to Germany, France, Belgium, Austria, down to Italy. Down to Italy and across the rivers and all that. But nobody ever turned us down in Europe.
Didn't have the same experience. So your children, you had 3 children, and you're traveling from Nebraska to Alabama and didn't find a place until you got to Missouri. Is that what I heard you say, Selma?
Till he got back to the 2-room house. Home sweet home.
Mercy. Wow. So did you ever participate in any of the marches or anything having to do with civil rights?
No, right there in my hometown, but at that time I was in England. We stayed in England 5 years. But we read about it, but we...
Okay. So you get to Northern California and you are introduced to the Seventh-day Adventist Church there in Vallejo. And I take it that Elder Main was the pastor. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And Pastor Seville was the associate pastor, senior.
A senior man, he was a youth pastor.
Who is
Ron's
that?
father.
Right.
So, Baron's father.
They live in Richmond, California.
Savoy.
Savoy. Oh.
Savoy, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, Elder Savoy.
Was the youth pastor.
Yes, yes. Okay, Elder Allen Savoy and his wife, Rosalind.
Yes.
Okay, and their son is now your pastor, which is Elder Baron Savoy.
Yes.
Okay, so he was a youth pastor at Vallejo Drive when you were there. What a small world. And then, of course, did you study? Did you do amazing facts, or what did you do? What made you make that decision? Who convinced you that this worshiping and keeping of the Sabbath was correct? What made you accept that as what you would determine within yourself is okay now?
Well, we were living in Fairfield, California. And my wife was determined to go to church. And she wasn't driving. So I decided, instead of, you know, I would drive them down there to church every Sabbath. And then I just got hooked driving them down there. So they were 40-some miles from Fairfield to the Vallejo down there.
Mercy.
I would take them to church.
And you had to sit there and wait for them?
No, I went into church.
Oh, you went in? Okay.
I got hooked up and I joined it.
Okay.
Going there every Sabbath to take the family, I might join too.
And you became good friends with the Mains. And the Mains would later become members of the same church, and you would find yourselves in the church together once again. What years were you in Vallejo?
I don't know. I don't remember how many years. But
probably 58 to about 62.
I see. Okay. So now you're in Northern California. You're headed to England, and you're doing all this traveling. You're working on as a mechanic and doing all these things. Now these years, the course of some years have passed. Have you seen any changes that would directly affect you as a Negro man in the Air Force?
In the Air Force? It didn't affect me anything, but I ended up, I was a senior master sergeant.
That's right.
So that means I was in charge of all the rest of the master sergeant. I was a senior jet engine mechanic. And
as a senior, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Going way back when I first went in the military, they sent me to New Jersey. And by ship, they had a troop ship, they call them. And we went a week. It took a week to go from Staten Island to England. A week on the ship.
Wow.
And it was nice. It was on the ship with all the GIs. And doing GI shot dice. You don't know what shooting dice there. Gamma. When we landed, got off the ship in England, I had over $300.
Oh my. Did you ever get that straight?
Pardon?
Did you ever get that straight?
Straight.
Yeah, did you pay it?
No, he won 300.
Oh, you won 300. Okay.
On the ship.
On the ship, okay.
I got there, I had over $300 in my pocket and a bunch of mad GI. So they were
Mr.
broke.
Bennett,
I don't want all the money.
Is this before baptism or after baptism?
No, this was before baptism.
Okay, so we're back to England. Now the sons are there with you, and they have now become international travelers. Stephen, what's the thing you remember about England and traveling there during that time? What stick stands out for you?
England was interesting because there were a good number of Blacks from both Jamaica and Africa who we're still friends with today.
Wow.
And Blacks that were attending prestigious universities such as Oxford.
Mm-hmm.
And these were the privileged ones, but were still just humble and just appreciated Americans who came through. The military has a strange, there's 4 branches, and some branches have a higher population of Blacks than others. And the Air Force is one of them that doesn't have a high population. The Navy doesn't have a high population. The Marines don't have a high population. It's mainly the Army that has a higher, and the Army doesn't necessarily have families. A lot of them come in 4 years and leave. Whereas the Air Force and Navy tend to have what they call lifers. So from England, we went to Germany, which on a huge installation, like a city, that had all 4 branches. And as I said, this was during the height of the Vietnam War, so that there was tension, fear of Western Germany coming over with tanks.
Mm.
If you can imagine East Germany and West Germany that are now unified somewhat, but back then it was a heavy concern that the Berlin Wall was going to be overran with tanks.
Mm.
And these huge military installations were the break point.
Wow.
So there was high tension and stress because at the same time, troops were being sent to Vietnam. And the casualties were numerous.
Really?
And you read in the back of the paper how many died that week.
Mm-hmm.
So it was tension, throughout the whole bases. But outside the base, I remember traveling and meeting people who've never seen Blacks before.
Right.
Remind me of Austria.
Mm-hmm.
We stopped in one evening, the whole town, and this is a fact. No one would believe. The whole town came out looking, waving at us. We way back.
You were celebrity.
Wow, because they had never seen.
Very friendly, and loving.
That was a little different than Selma, Alabama, and all those other places, wasn't it?
Yes.
Did you want to stay there?
I'm sorry?
Do you think your dad, Mr. Bennett, did you want to stay there?
Stay where?
There in England or Europe? Do you want to stay?
Do I want to stay now?
Then at that time, did you want to stay?
At that time?
Yes.
So wherever I went was a better choice, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't going to stay there and pick cotton.
Okay. So tell me, Stephen, what were you going to say?
There's one experience. We have a painting of a place we visited called Eagle's Nest.
Mm-hmm.
And Eagle's Nest was Hitler's winter retreat.
Right.
And this painting was purchased on the side, that the artist, a lot of artists. And I'm interested in who that artist is today and what was his accomplishments that could determine the value of this painting.
Mm.
Austria is a subpart of Germany,
Mm-hmm.
but it's considered a little different, in that the elitist, within the German, Germanian is what they're called, view of the world, they're very different. So to be in possession of artwork that is pre-50s, for some has an appreciation beyond monetarily.
Surely.
You know, because they're leaders. They, you know, an example is Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's not German, he's Austrian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's Austrian.
And through the whole hierarchy that the Europeans have within their culture is very interesting compared to us. We're just Americans, but they're each country, France, Italy, Spain, they all, and then in United Kingdom, you have England, Scottish, Welsh, all these subcultures that have different philosophies on things.
Surely.
There have been a lot of good things happening too. For example, once, this was before I married, I was stationed at MacDill in Florida, Tampa, Florida. And the Dodgers would come down there spring training. And you wear a uniform, you could get in free during spring training games. So I put on my uniform one day and walked down, and they parked the bus in the big parking lot, and the players would walk through and come, and the fans would stand on the side of a fence. And I would go down and stand there to watch the play. And you probably never heard of Don Newcomb. I had 2 stripes. There's a picture for the Dodgers. Don Newcomb. I had 2, I was a private first class, 2 stripes. Don Newcomb walked behind and said, "What's happening, Sarge?" That was the greatest thing.
That was an experience that meant so much to him. To be identified as a sergeant.
That was nice.
Great. The hierarchy of your rank is ranking is so determined by when you drive your car onto the Air Force base, you can measure their salute by the rank.
Oh my.
If you're a lower rank, they'll throw it up there. If you're a higher rank, they'll make it pop.
Okay.
So the officers did not go swimming pool for the officers, swimming pool for the enlisted.
Right.
Everything is separated. So you knew your lot in life.
Yeah, that's right. You had to, but you gotta give her glory too, because what's her name? Obama's wife,
Michelle.
I saw it. She said, "We got to do something for the wives. We got all the veterans getting all these benefits." So that's how she changed the whole thing. The wives got benefits. TRICARE. My wife have a TRICARE card. She can go to the doctor free.
Wow.
And that's where all the that's why all the good stuff their wives got in there free, and they did deserve it, because I was worried. We had 3 little kids crawling around, and she got on a plane in Omaha, Nebraska, went and flew to McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey, and from there to Norwich, England, with all them little kids.
Wow.
And we remember, you know, the Powell family from here in Riverside?
Oh, yes. Chaplain Powell, Joseph Powell, his family, yes.
He was an officer.
Okay.
We remember that family. You know, there weren't a lot of Black officers at that time. And this was in Germany. And it's interesting how paths cross.
Yes.
The Adventist family.
Yes.
And it's just a joy to, all military families have life experience similarities.
Really?
If your parents' rank can be affected by your child's behavior. So there's no, as a dependent, you're called, any misbehavior on your part can cause your parent to have severe consequences. Severe. So you told the line.
Wow.
We seen we seen the Berlin Wall, the gate.
Yes, yes.
They went down and made a U-turn, and we didn't go through the gate, but on the bus, and they were pointing out the wall to us. Made a U-turn. It was down in Venice, Italy, and Sarah and myself, we were down there on the beach in Italy, and we didn't know a black person in sight. So I walked down on the beach, and I ran a black couple, ran into them. And I came back, I was so excited, I saw some blacks. And they were right behind me. Yeah, we had see some blacks. They were from Canada. They were from Canada. And he was a pilot with the Canadian Air Force.
Okay, okay.
And they would come to visit us in Germany, and we would go visit them. And both. What was their name? Of course, she passed. They wrote us and everything.
So, Mr. Bennett, I have 3 questions for you as we begin to dwindle down here. The first one would be concerning your time in military. What do you believe was your greatest experience in the military and your worst experience in the military? And then I'm going to ask what led you to join the Toastmasters and your love affair with speaking, and then what prompted you to write the book. So greatest experience and worst experience in the military. What caused you to join the Toastmasters and your love affair with speaking, and what prompted you to write the book then and now? Those questions. Let's tackle the military first.
The military, what was your best experience and what your worst experience?
My best experience, when I went to college and I got a degree in social science. And then from that, I was the equal opportunity counselor.
Mm-hmm.
In the military, I was talking to a friend named Brennan Bragg. He told me, and I had to speak, and I wasn't a great speaker. So I was senior master sergeant. I could get up and start talking bad talk, and they listened. They had to listen. So Brennan Bragg told me, hey, why don't you join Toastmasters when you get out and speak about race and stuff? I had never heard of Toastmasters, so I joined. And I was, if a person was discriminated against, I had to counsel the discriminator and him too. Then when I retired, I went to the VA, and I was in charge of sterilizing instruments. And then it came here in Oberlin, where I was the discrimination counselor in the VA for the VA too. So that taught me how to speak, because they would have Black History time, they would have meetings, Black History Month. And you had to go up and speak to them about, because there was a fair amount of discrimination everywhere. Our people thought they were discriminated. It went both ways. People were discriminated against, and sometimes people thought. Because I had one young man, he came to me and his white supervisor called him a boy. And he didn't like that. He came to me, calling me a boy. I had to investigate it because she was a big supervisor. It ended up, oh, it's cold out there. That's what she said. That's what she said. She didn't say, but she didn't use that expression. And everybody used that, but he didn't like it. He thought she was calling him a boy.
Oh, it's cold.
Another example I want to just inject, speaking a foreign language is considered discriminating, other than when it's on lunch or break.
What?
figure that one out at the VA. You can't speak other than English, other than at your lunchtime or on your break, because the other person can feel discriminated.
Then or now?
Then.
Then. U.S. or international?
I get that.
U.S.
Oh, wow.
VA hospital in Loma Linda.
Oh, just being our home for me. Wow. Okay. Okay. Worst experience in the military?
My worst experience? I never really.
As a Negro man.
When they wouldn't give you gloves in the winter to work on the engine.
Yeah. One of the worst experiences I had, I was working on a B-47. That's a bomber.
Mm.
And the guy, the top sergeant, then he would go down, had the engine, airplanes all lined up. He would ride through there and see which one was taking off. And I'm down there working on that. And on top of that engine, it was cold. So he rolled by, driving truck and smoke in there. He came by and I didn't like that. Cold, and he was sitting in that hot truck, and I'm sitting out there on that engine working. He was top sergeant, but I wasn't in charge of him. I wasn't then. I had 3 stripes, and they rode by and go down the line watching the worker, and he came back, and third did the same thing. And I'm out there in the cold, so once he came back and put around and did that okay sign to me, I did that to him.
Mercy.
He hit his brakes. Bennett, come with me. And we go to the maintenance officer. Who's going? I know why you're going to the maintenance. He went there, and the maintenance officer was coming out of his office. Sir, Alma Bennett did a bad gesture to me. You know.
Bad gesture.
So the maintenance officer, come on, send him to my office. I went there. Said, hey, man, why are you out here doing this bad gesture to sergeant? I said, no, sir, I didn't do that. You know it's cold out there. He said, yes. And I'm so cold, I couldn't get my fingers together. So I just stuck one up there. You know that colonel fell out the chair laughing.
Wow.
Get out of my office and don't come back.
All righty.
They wouldn't give you gloves to work on the flight line. You know. But just to summarize it, little things you don't know about him, speak some Chinese to him.
Ni hao, hello.
He had a platoon of Vietnamese when he was over in Thailand. So he took up the language to command Chinese Vietnamese forces.
Wow. Okay.
And after 26 years in the Air Force, he did 20 years at the VA.
Yes. Yes.
So patriotism runs deep in our family.
Yes.
And just a sample of patriotism, I'm sure Jerry can attest to this. On a military base, they bring the flag up and they bring it down.
That's right.
Everything stops. Everything.
Yeah, treat, they call it.
If you're caught moving, somebody's gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
You have to stand there.
So you listen to the taps play, and so we have a strong attraction to the military. Although the military it runs deep in our family.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about. I'm sorry.
Sawadee, Pooh Yang. That's hello, lady.
Okay. Listen to you.
Sawadee, Pooh Cha. That's hello, man.
Okay.
I work with the Thai.
You learned some other languages there. Tell me about what inspired you to write this book, Then and Now.
I always go to Alabama. I like going to Alabama. I don't forget it. And I call people from there, all my old friends. And I think about Alabama. I got lots of friends.
Speaking of Alabama, the sharecropper who owned the property, my dad, as you said, always goes back, and he's went back in a Corvette, a Mercedes, a Cadillac, a Lincoln, and the man who owned the farm doesn't even have it anymore.
Wow.
He lost it. And, you know, it's just, the world is interesting.
Yes, yes.
A sharecropper.
Your greatest inspiration as we close is what or whom?
It inspired me.
Yes, your greatest inspiration that has inspired you as a man with the grit and determination. You only touched the surface, but what is your greatest inspiration, you believe?
I think it had to have been my wife, because when I came back from England, there were 5 good waiting on me to marry.
5 of them?
5.
Waiting on him to marry them?
Wow.
Wow, okay. I'm scared of you.
But they were all out farmers.
They were all farmers.
Let me see if I can pull up a picture of Mrs. Bennett.
I don't want to marry nobody I had to argue with about staying in Alabama. I wanted to do something else. And I went to Omaha, and that's when I met her, and that inspired me.
Okay. Okay. I'm not mad at you for that. Is there anything that you see concerning the military now that you think we could do better? I'm trying to pull up a picture of your wife.
That I could do better?
That we can do better.
Yeah. I got in trouble at Northern Air Force Base. I was a maintenance chief out there when they came out with females in the Air Force, and they're going to send females to the jet field. And I was in charge. And that upset me. Females, because I didn't think a woman had no business out there crawling around them airplanes, working on them. So I wrote a letter to the base commander, because I was in charge of maintenance, and I had to boss the females around. And sure enough, the advanced party came in, and she was a colonel. She had a wife with her. So they lined us up. She lined us up out there, and they had told her I objected to sending females. So, Sergeant Bennett, I hear you won't allow females in the engine shop. I said, that's right. Tell me why. I said, a starter for an airplane weighs 75 pounds. And how could a woman lift 75 pounds and screw a starter on? And she stood there and she looked at me. And she pointed out the a guy named Caldwell. I'll never forget him. He was about 5 feet tall. And she called him, come here, Alma. He walked up. Alma, can you saw a starter by yourself? No, ma'am. She said, that's it. They're coming.
Wow. Wow. I don't know why I can't put my hands on it right now. Closing remark about your book, Then and Now. Tell us a little bit about it and where can people get it? While I look a little bit more for this picture. I just had it yesterday.
She wants a little bit about your book and where can they get it from?
Huh?
Where can they buy your book or see your book?
Well, you picked a good place, and yeah, see.
Oh, I got it right here.
Your book? I'm gonna ask you to hold up a picture of your mother in a minute if I can't get to my pictures. I'm sorry. I don't know why I can't get to my pictures.
Yeah.
Hold up a picture. Hold up a picture of your mom, Esteban.
Okay.
Because I can't get to the pictures that I have.
A picture of you? Oh. Okay.
So that's her book. You know,
I don't know why I can't get to it.
Deb, stop sharing your screen so he can.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, because I can't get to my picture. Thanks. I can go upstairs and get it.
That's with their only granddaughter.
No. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's Sydney. Your only niece. And then your wife. And you have a picture of your brothers. There's Mrs. Bennett. And Mr. Bennett, do you mind telling us how old you are now?
How old I am?
Now,
No better. Old enough to know better. Old enough today I can have my way. And that means 86 years.
That's right.
and say what he wants to say.
And when I say no, it's no. Don't.
Oh, don't I
debate.
know? Don't I know it? All right. Esteban, we're going to take a couple questions or remarks. Couple questions or remarks as we begin to close up here. We'll end with prayer. A couple questions. Anybody have any questions or remarks? Mr. Bennett, you've been so gracious. You've given us a little insight into who you are, why you took that walk. I'm sure you don't regret having walked those 23 miles, do you? 24 miles? From
to say I'm like 24 miles.
Yeah, and then you had to go back with your certificate. That was quite a walk, but we can see that it paid off. Anybody with any comments or questions before we
I have a comment. It brought back such memories for me to listen to Mr. Bennett and Brother Bennett and to hear his reminiscing of his days in the Air Force. My father has been deceased 22 years this past August, and he was also in the military and served 22 years. We were stationed in Spain for 5 years and in the Philippines for 3. And so just listening and reminiscing with you just brought back such joy to my heart. And thank you so much for your testimony and for your being a Christian.
Very nice. Thank you, Melody. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Anyone else with any comments or questions?
I have a comment. Mr. Bennett, hi. My father was also stationed in the Air Force, and he used to tell us stories as well. Were you ever stationed in Camden, New Jersey?
New Jersey? That's McGuire Air Force Base.
Yes, but and then they had a little port, and he used to talk about a port in Camden and how the airmen used to go on downtown Camden well-dressed. He was also an auto mechanic in the Air Force, and he's 86 as well. I was wondering if you ever knew a Airman Crawford.
Crawford, yes.
Oh my goodness.
Because you sound so familiar and you're close to the same age. And I was like, maybe he might know an Airman Crawford.
But you see, at that time, they had a black section of town, and that you knew everybody because that's where all you went.
Her dad is still alive. He is here in Southern California. Maybe we'll have to arrange for you all to get together. Airman Crawford.
Yeah, we knew a lot of old timers I meet. A lot of them.
Okay. Small world, Lori, small world.
Yes. Pastor Rock has his hand raised.
All righty, thank you so much. Dr. Rock.
Well, I just wanted to point out that I happen to have been in Germany when the wall was being taken down. And I asked for a chunk of that wall as a souvenir. And I was able to get through all kinds of security. And I have a huge block of that Berlin Wall that was torn down as a souvenir of one of my trips to Germany.
It's interesting that you said that, Dr. Rock. I remember you bringing that back, and you gave some to Mrs. Bradford Rock, if I'm not mistaken, and you gave some to Mrs. Bond.
Yes, but I saved some as well.
Yes.
Hearing Brother Bennett talk about it brought back memories. And there is a difference between Austrians and Germans. There's a difference. There is. And I enjoyed some time in both places. But that wall, to which we have to give credit to Reagan, but to some degree, when he said, tear down that wall.
That's right.
That's right.
The tearing down of the wall was an epic and a memorable piece of American history, of world history. And makes me remember that I have a piece that I've saved. One of these days, I don't know what I'll do with it, but I won't say where it is exactly, because I don't know who's listening, but I got it.
Dr. Rock, in addition, you may find it interesting to know that one of Mr. Bennett's sons attended Oakwood.
Oh, yes. What years?
Esteban, what years?
71 to 74.
Well, that was my time. That was the beginning of my time. So he was one of my students.
Yeah.
Hope he's doing well.
Yes, yes.
He's been blessed, as we all have.
Good. I can tell, and I can tell why. You got a lot of good stock.
And just one other thing I'd like to inject. In my father's departure from Selma, his mother gave him 25 cents. And he took out allotment from his check to send money back home from his first check on Intel. I'm not going to give you the details of the purchases that he made for his family, but they didn't stay in the home much longer. They upgraded.
I was making $72 a month, and I sent my mother 24.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Rock, for sharing. I appreciate that. I think I see Marion Fowler. Is that right, Lori?
Yes.
And before Marion speaks, I believe that we owe her birthday greetings, because if I'm not mistaken, today is her birthday. Am I right, Sister Fowler? She walked away. Didn't want to do that. Marion, are you there? Here she comes. Are you unmuted?
I don't believe she's connected to sound.
Unmute yourself, Sister Fowler.
Oh, can you hear me? I'm trying to speak. I don't know if I can be heard.
We can hear you now.
Oh,
we can hear you now. And
okay.
Pull the screen down.
Well,
thank you. Thank you so much for the birthday wish. And it was a pleasure to listen as he was speaking. I have a question. My uncle's name is John Smallwood. He's a little older than you, and but you traveled in the same areas, Travis, Fairfield, Germany, etc. And I was wondering, and he worked with the B-52s. And I was wondering if your paths had ever crossed.
Probably if he went on B-52, because Travis was a large plane.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the way on B-52 to Travis. fast and Vallejo.
So Sister Paula, your camera, the way that it's situated, we don't see anything with you. Oh, there you are. There's your beautiful face. All right.
It's I don't know what to do.
That's all right. That's all right.
All right. Okay.
Thank you so much for your question, and we hope you're having an enjoyable birthday.
Thank you so much, and God bless.
You too. Any other questions or comments?
I don't know how to get
Lori, did I get everybody out the chat?
Miss Shirley asked, what years was he in Vallejo?
I think we got that earlier.
59 to 62.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
That's it for the questions in the chat.
Okay, that's good. Appreciate that. So Mr. Bennett and Esteban, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us, Esteban, if someone wants to get the book, what should they do?
Well, we're gonna have to seek Brother Austin's help on how to how to put the book through Amazon. He's knowledgeable, and because as is, he just gives them away.
I give them away.
All righty. If you're interested in a book, put it in the chat, and we'll get together with them and find out. It's a quick read.
What?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm giving them away.
All right. If they're interested in one, we'll make sure they get it. Would you put it in the chat so that I can get that information before we sign off? Mr. Bennett, before we have prayer for you, would you share one of your writings from the book? Any one of those poems or things that you've written? Would you mind sharing one of those right now?
Yeah. One I recall was Still Standing. Still Standing. That's the name of the poem. Still Standing.
And while Esteban is getting that he got it already. There we go.
Okay, I'll read it. You are still standing. There is a message for all people of color. It doesn't matter where you are from or where you have been. I am talking to all Black people. Sometimes you should stop and encourage yourself. Look back over your life and think about yesterday, last week, last month, or 5 years ago. You will discover that you had enough obstacles in your past that could have caused you to lose your mind. Others have been through less than you have, and they have given up on life. You are still standing. You may have been segregated, enslaved, and still standing. You have been colonized and are still standing. You have been through apartheid and still standing. Mistreated and still standing. Sent to prison and still standing. The memory is still playing tricks on you, but you are still standing. You may not be a billionaire, but you do have a chance to reach the goals that you have not yet reached. That is why you should keep your hands in the hands of the Lord, because he is the one who kept us standing after all. We have been through, and I repeat, he is the one who keeps us standing.
Nice, nice. Still standing. Still standing. What a message it is. And that's perhaps is a good place to end. As we see all these things happening all around us, we have to remind ourselves and encourage. I think that's the word I heard Esteban say when he was reading his father's poem there. We have to encourage ourselves sometimes, but still standing. That's the message, Chief. That's the message. Well, you've shared some nuggets with us. We appreciate that sincerely. And we've enjoyed the fellowship, the time that we've shared together. One thing I need to say before we have prayer, and would you have prayer for Mr. Bennett?
Sure.
I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that Mr. Bennett's daughter-in-law, Tiffany Lewis Bennett, is what, Esteban? Tell us her title. She is in the political arena now.
She is my wife.
That's
the best guy of all.
She's one of the elected officials here in the city of Rialto on the school board. She has a passion for children and help guiding them to empower them through the struggles of adolescence.
Yeah, and she's doing a fine job representing the Rialto Unified School District there as an elected official. We're proud of her and delighted that she successfully met that task at hand. First and foremost, though, let's not forget, she is Mr. Bennett's wife.
And I can tell you something else we missed out on her. She's from the city, and the first time we went to Alabama, country, down in the woods. My father, he was a Christian, he was a Baptist and all. He told me, boy, I'm so glad you married that girl. I'm happy about it. She's a fine person. I'm so glad you married her, because these things around here drink beer.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
That's what he said. The girls around here drink beer. And he was not he never had a drink in his life.
Wow! 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 Well, indeed, you have a jewel. Mrs. Bennett is a jewel, and we have the privilege of fellowshipping with her.
Go to someplace, somebody to
appreciate that. Our custom is to. Okay, Lori, can you get them? She got it. Our custom is to have prayer for our guest, and Jerry, one of your fellow Alabamians, and you know him well, of course, is going to offer prayer, and then we'll share one more bit of information and we'll sign off. I see some things have come in the chat, but let's pause for a word of prayer.
Everyone bow their heads. Our kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we've heard some wonderful, wonderful information, things that we know that we have overcome over the years. And thank you for allowing Brother Bennett to be able to share his story with us, his inspirational story, things that will inspire and motivate us. Know that we still stand. We still stand because we've gone through the adversity. We've experienced the hate, the love. And Lord, we know that without you, where would we be? So thank you for the information that was provided and allowed all of us to be able to reminisce and be able to acknowledge that we have experienced some of the same things that we all seem to go through, but definitely worthwhile story that will help motivate and inspire each and every one of us. Bless Brother Bennett, his family, his wife, his kids, grandkids. And Lord, we thank you for things that you have done in his life. We've both come a long way from the deep South to be exposed to things that we were able to use to our advantage. Help us and keep us, watch over us until we meet again. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Stephen, I owe you a debt of thanks for how you helped us navigate this and put this together. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us once again. It has been so nice to have this time of fellowship with you. May the Lord bless and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you and grant you and yours peace. Until then,
take care of yourselves and each other. For more information about this program, This Is My Story, Testimonies That Move the Soul, see us at our website. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.